me.
Well, I guess we got to come on at some point.
I mean, eventually. As great as that intro soundtrack is, and it is great, they don't want to listen to it forever.
No, I don't think they want to listen to it forever.
No. They'd much rather hear us. Hey, y'all. Thank you for joining us.
What's up, everybody? Law and Disorder coming at you from Popcornology here in Terrell, Texas. Let's say what's up to the sponsors real quick. Thank you to Young Ideas Dish, Wavespace Audio for the music, and Popcornology for the building.
Yes.
Without any of those three, this doesn't exist.
Like, legit, I don't think any of it exists without, because we need Popcornology for the building, Wavespace Audio for the soundtrack, Dish Young Ideas for our equipment. Yeah, the Holy Trinity. We literally wouldn't be here if it wasn't for
The
them.
Holy
Thank you.
Trinity.
I don't know. I think it's a great nickname.
You just said the Holy Trinity.
Yeah. You need location, you need equipment, and you need sound effects for a great podcast and good content and great people and hosts like us.
We don't have good content. Actually,
You're gonna make the audience sound?
No, I just changed the audio. I wanted a different background.
Oh.
I wanted the newer track.
Oh.
No, I don't need. Which one's the people laughing? Nope.
Oh yeah. We're so funny. I'm so funny. Anyway, thanks for joining us tonight, y'all. I just wanted to point out that I have been dealing with some very interesting traffic the past few weeks. I know I'm not used to going out and about. I work from home. I don't drive into the office anymore or an office, and I don't normally drive super far distances anymore. So I think coming here is probably the farthest I drive most of the time, to Terrell. So
really,
Wiley to Terrell is about the farthest I've been driving lately. And the traffic has been blowing my mind. Like, if I leave my house within a 30-minute time frame, it goes from traffic is decent and just kind of normal to, oh my God, how do all these people get here? Where are they coming from? Where are they going? Why is this happening to my life?
Really?
Yes, it's so bad. It took me over an hour to get here tonight. It should not take me over an hour to get here.
No, if you come here during, like, I don't know what time of day now, but if you come here during a decent time of day, it's like 40 minutes maybe.
Yeah, and it should take me about 45 minutes to get here from where I live, and it took me over an hour today. And can I just say that Apple Maps took me on the fastest route, and I was driving this route to get here, Sergio, and I drove down this road where I was afraid if my car broke down or if I popped a tire or something and I got stranded, that someone with a saw was going to come over and like kidnap me and hold me hostage.
Yeah, we got roads like that around here.
It was scary, and it was dark. There were no lights. There was like one little house up the road. I think I had service, so that was nice. But I'm like, man, I hope I don't get stranded out here because no one's going to know I'm out here if my phone dies.
No, and Mr. Holland isn't around to save you.
No, he is out of town for the next several days. Woohoo, house to myself. But I couldn't.
No.
We should label those buttons.
I know, but the fun part is not knowing which one it is.
I probably would have called you because you would have been the person I know that would have been like closest to me.
I would have called, you would have called me and I'd have been like, she's stranded or she's getting chased or she's been kidnapped. I'm like, all this sounds like stuff that's too much effort for me at this moment in time.
Man.
It's not, I knew it wouldn't be like a normal like request, but.
What if I offered you money to come help me?
It depends on where you're at. If you're too far, it's not worth it.
I was probably, so I think at that point I was past traffic, like 15, 20 minutes from here.
I'm trying to figure out what wooded area were you at.
I was coming down 548.
Okay. 548's not bad.
Not the last half, but the first half was
First half is kind of
sketchy.
scurry.
Yeah. Like the road wasn't even big enough for 2 cars to pass by it at the same time. I'm like, this is like a 1-lane road. It's country roads for you. Anyway, I just wanted to vent about that because I don't understand traffic anymore.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that you're here.
Me too.
I'm glad that you made it in one piece. Because I'd hate to have to explain to Mr. Holland what happened to you from home to here. Like somewhere in there, I'm getting a visit from the authorities. They're like, well, on her map, her GPS said she was coming here. What? And they'd be like, Mr. Betancourt, what happened to her from here to here? I'm like, I don't know, officer.
Like, I don't know.
I don't know what she gets into when she's not here. But they'd still grill me like I knew. Did she have any enemies? Probably. Do you know of anybody that would have anything against her? I'm like, no, but I'm sure they exist.
Is she the type of person to just get up and run away from her responsibilities?
And then I'd have to like talk about that. You know, we'd have to like have a conversation.
You'd have to come on here by yourself and tell everybody like what happened to me and be
No,
like,
no. I would just, one day they would just have like a new person here.
really?
We would just forget that.
Oh.
Her name might even be Caitlin.
Maybe she'll spell it better than mine.
Maybe we'll get, I will just get another Caitlin. Kind of like in, what was it, in Roseanne when they replaced the daughter.
Never seen Roseanne.
What was the daughter's name? It was the same daughter.
Like Parent Trap?
Peggy? Becky. Myrna's over there telling me. Yeah, they replaced Becky. Like one day you got Becky, and then the next day you got other Becky.
Oh, like they replaced the actress?
Yes, but same character. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, same thing. Aunt Vivian, like one season, there's a new Aunt Vivian.
Yep.
And she's just Aunt Viv. And it's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
So
I went with it.
So we could probably do that. There'd be like a Law and Disorder with Caitlin. And they'd be like, well, where's Caitlin at? It's like, this is Caitlin. What are you talking about?
Well, I appreciate that you didn't use our public platform to, put the word out that I'm missing and that people could help look for me.
No, we're not that public.
Thank you.
We're only on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Facebook. Come check us out. So here we are. Anyway, you're alive. You're well-ish. You're fine. Nothing to worry about. Ooh, I like this little groove going on here.
I know. This is nice.
I like this little groove. Okay, so what are we talking about tonight? You got some stuff for us tonight, I think.
I would just like to point out all the notes I brought. I am prepared. A lot of the info was really hard to comprehend, but I was a good student and I highlighted. So today is December 9th. So I found out that December 9th is International Anti-Corruption Day.
What?
I'll say that again. December 9th is international, meaning the whole world.
Okay.
Anti, which means against.
Right.
Corruption, which means bad stuff. Day.
Which is
today.
a day on the calendar.
Okay. So the definition, or if y'all are really wanting to know what it is, so it's a day to raise awareness about corruptions in regards to business, politics, banking, media, the environment, anything like that, and ways to combat it and help end it so that we can have a more global, all-inclusive population.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So basically stopping people from lying and making bad choices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That sounds hard to make the world do that, but
yeah, it's not like it's gone away. It's something that I think every country can face. It's not just an America thing. It's not just a North America thing or a Europe thing. It's all over the world. This happens. And it was so funny because I was researching some examples to share with everybody today about these big corruption cases in our history. And most of them are outside of the United States.
Oh, really?
And I
would
found-
think there'd be some big ones in the United States.
Not that there aren't cases of fraud and corruption in the United States, but the U.S. actually passed laws to where they have, what's it called? Like a say over it, something that they can control at the federal level, and made it illegal. A lot of countries don't have laws where their federal government can do that. So these business tycoons can kind of just do whatever they want because they have no oversight.
That's why they have like offshore accounts in other countries.
And we're going to get into that today.
Uh-oh. I want to hear this.
Okay. So I also found out that every year on Anti-Corruption Day,
It sounds like a made-up day. It really sounds like a made-up day.
And this is a real thing. You can Google it; it'll pop up. It's crazy. But the theme of this year's Anti-Corruption Day is "You're right." Like you as a person, you're right. Your role. Say no to corruption.
There's a theme.
Yes, that's the theme. I'm like, say no to drugs. Say no to corruption.
Say no to horrible themes.
It's not great. But that theme underlines the fact that every individual has a role in combating and preventing corruption. Yeah. And I guess they chose it because of like COVID-19 and that a lot of valuable resources aren't as accessible right now because of labor shortages, people getting sick, lack of supplies,
Corruption. Because there's like, I think at this point there's probably enough COVID vaccines floating around for everybody, for all 7 billion people. But there's countries that don't have access to it. Mm-hmm. It's not that it's not that there's not enough. It's not that there's a shortage. They don't have access to it because of corruption in their governments.
Yeah. So the most valuable resources are not available for the vulnerable and needy sections of the world due to corruption.
You know, we're looking at you, Africa. Africa's a good one. Like the continent of Africa, not like parts of Africa. Pretty much like all of Africa. Right? Isn't most of Africa corrupt?
I have not researched every country.
There's a lot of stuff going
I don't
on
want to make an assumption, but if that's what you've been hearing, I'm sure your sources are.
The continent of Africa, for the most part, has been corrupt for a long time.
Oh yeah, lots of countries are corrupt.
Like South Africa, not so much, but Africa, like the whole continent of Africa, for the most part.
Cool. Well, why don't we get into some examples
Let's
of
do it.
corruption? I tried to pick 3 really, really big ones that maybe you guys have heard of before. If not, this is going to be a great learning lesson for everybody.
All right,
what
education
not to
time.
do. Okay, so the first corruption we're going to talk about is a corruption that they have nicknamed the Paradise Papers. Not a paradise, not great, but they're called the Paradise Papers. And I did cite all my sources in case y'all are wondering. This one's from The Guardian, so this is where I'm pulling my information.
That's from the UK, right? That's their paper? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. So this was something I think that they discovered 10 or 15 years ago. So basically, some of the world's biggest businesses, political leaders, heads of state, global figures in entertainment and sports, all these super mega wealthy people were hiding their wealth in like these little secret tax haven bank accounts. Most of them in different countries than where they reside.
Okay.
They're basically hiding their money in offshore accounts. Not something great, but it's something we've all heard of, and it happens. And we found out that it was happening a lot.
Really?
Like, not just like a little bit here and there, like a lot. So we discovered there was a leak when this came out, and over 13 million files were leaked, detailing that all these people and how big this situation was. And it just pointed out how the wealthiest people protect their money and just stay wealthy and don't have to pay taxes. As crappy as that sounds. Like, remember how, what did they say? President Trump a couple years ago paid what, like $700? How much did he pay in taxes?
Yeah.
$700?
Something like that.
Something like that. I feel like I pay that much every month in taxes. Like, that's how much is taken out of my bank account every month for taxes. So it's crazy, right?
Right.
Okay.
So the thing I like to point out is I like how it was a leak of 13 million files. Last time I checked, the leak is not 13 million files. Like, if you leak something, it's like a dozen, not 13 million. That's strategic, and somebody outed them.
Yeah.
They were outed.
The materials, those files, they came from 2 offshore service providers, these tax places, and they were obtained by this German newspaper, and I'm going to butcher this name, and I'm so sorry. Süddeutsche Zeitung.
Bless you.
Thank you. So this was a group of investigative journalists that found all this out. They worked with BBC and the New York Times. But anyway, I'll get right to the point, the stuff that you guys want to know. So in these papers, here's what we found out about some of the wealthiest people in the world. So millions of pounds being the dollar over in the UK, millions of pounds from the Queen's private estate, the Queen of England.
The Queen of England?
It was invested in Cayman Island funds. And some of her money went to a retailer accused of exploiting poor families and vulnerable people.
Oh.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good.
No. Extensive offshore dealings by Donald Trump's cabinet members, advisors, and donors, including substantial payments from a firm co-owned by Vladimir Putin's son-in-law to the shipping group of the U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross.
So that was the Commerce Secretary under President Trump? Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yep.
Doesn't the Commerce Secretary handle a lot of that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Isn't that the role of the Commerce Secretary? To deal with the regulations of commerce?
Twitter and Facebook received hundreds of millions of dollars in investments that can be traced back to Russian state financial institutions.
Now, if we're talking about another place that's corrupt, Russia, but everybody knows Russia is corrupt.
Russia's just kind of scary. At least it comes off as scary to me.
You just know that there's something bad going on in Russia most times.
Yep.
Like, majority of the time, something sketchy's going on.
So the Cayman Islands are a really popular place to send your money because you're able to avoid taxes there really easy. So the Cayman Islands Trust, managed by the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's chief money man, sent his money there.
Okay. I mean, I guess if it's good enough for the bigwigs, it's good enough for anybody.
Aggressive tax avoidance by multinational corporations, including Nike and Apple.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. So they went out of their way to not pay their taxes. Let's see here. Some of these y'all aren't even gonna know. I'll give this last one. The complex offshore webs used by 2 billionaires to buy stakes in Arsenal and Everton football clubs. So they basically got like a great deal to buy football clubs over in the UK.
When you said Arsenal, I thought you meant like they bought weapons.
No. The Arsenal football team.
Football team.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I caught that after you said football clubs. And I'm like, they bought a football club in Arsenal? Like, what did they buy? I was like, man, they're buying weapons now. Okay.
And just to kind of further, just kind of drill into how much data and information this was, it took over 380 journalists a year to like comb through all the data, and the data stretches back 70 years.
Holy jeez.
This isn't like stuff that just happened in like the past decade. This is stuff that's been happening for the past 70 years, and it took almost 400 journalists to go through it and record everything.
So were these journalists from like all over the world? Do we know?
You know, it did not say.
Or was it just the Guardian journalists?
I mean, I'm sure they used all their resources and probably outsourced a lot of it because I don't know how many journalists they have on staff. I wouldn't know the answer to that question.
So it sounds really intriguing, but I do wonder about the guy that works at the Guardian that really doesn't have any interest in this. He's just kind of getting, living paycheck to paycheck. And they're like, hey, Nigel, we've got 13 million emails. We need everybody to start coming through right now.
Yeah.
And then you just like, we're going to forward you a file. And you don't have, think about that. There's tons of those 400 people, there's probably another 100 interns that really just kind of half-assed it. So there's a lot more information that didn't come out that they just kind of like, we don't want to mess with.
I mean, journalists have a pretty good, well, I don't want to say all, but they're supposed to have a good moral compass and good ethics. That's the whole point of being a journalist. So I pray that doesn't happen.
Journalists are what get stuff done in the world.
Oh yeah, they're pushy.
Without journalists, we don't have a whole lot of anything going on here.
No, we wouldn't know anything.
No, and especially in places like Russia or Africa.
The Cayman Islands.
There's these guys risk their lives. There's guys that will out something, or they'll tease that they've got something, and then next thing you know, they're gone. They're missing. And then it's not just them, it's them and their family. Just poof, gone. So shout out to these journalists.
Yeah.
They might have been anonymous. They might have said, no, we don't want to put our name out there.
When I read this article, it just made me really hate big, wealthy businesses. And there's a leading economist out there named Gabriel Zucman, I think is his last name. And he was quoted saying, Tax havens are one of the key engines of the rise of global inequality. As inequality rises, offshore tax evasion is becoming an elite sport. Because if you just take everyone in the U.S. that's doing this, just the United States, not even talking about other countries, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere it would bring $400 or $500 billion back into taxes for the federal government. Think about how much our taxes would go down if they brought that money back here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I mean, geez, that much?
it is that much money. That's why there's so much inequality, income inequality here, because there's only this much money here in the United States and then this much over in wherever it is, Cayman Islands, wherever. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep. They're hoarding it.
I mean, I guess if you're going to hoard something in life, money's the thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. Not grandma's old newspapers, but money.
Okay, let's move on to topic number 2. So this one has been dubbed the biggest corruption case of all time in the history of the world.
Okay, how was the one we just talked about not the biggest corruption case of all time? It's bigger than that?
This one's bigger.
It's bigger than $400 to $500 billion?
Yes, so we are going to be talking about the Siemens corruption case, the corruption made in Germany.
Ah, okay.
If you've heard of the Siemens company, they're a very large electrical engineering company, and they were known for having good ethics and morals and values and things like that. No, they big lies. They good at lying. That's what they should have been.
They were good at paying PR people to give them a good reputation.
So we found out that they were involved in a corruption case of more than $1.4 billion in bribes. And they sent this bribe money to government officials in Asia, Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and the Americas.
Ooh.
Yes. So Siemens, again, they're a big electrical engineering company, and they're known for their products that deal with telecommunications, products that help with power grids, transportation, medical equipment, so on and so forth. That's why so many people like the company, because they were doing so much good with all their products.
But that also sounds like a lot of places to stick your hands in that could make you a lot of money if you're willing to bend your morals.
So they were raided by the police back in like 2006. So this was a little while ago. This was about 15 years ago. So they were raided because it came out that these bribes were happening. And of course, when they got raided, the first thing they said was, "It's not our fault. It's someone else's fault. We didn't do it. We're not bribing. We blame the gang. That gang over there made us do it." And I'm like, yeah. They just tried to play the victim card. Classic. But anyway, so let me move on to my next page here. So since the 1990s, so about 30 years ago.
Has the 1990s been 30 years ago? Jesus.
Yeah. Doesn't that suck?
Holy.
Remember when the 90s were like 10 years ago, 15 years ago? 90s were 30 years ago.
I just turned 40, so yeah. Dang.
So one of the ways Siemens was able to be a part of such a big scheme is that since the 1990s, they had organized a global system of corruption to gain market share and increase pricing on its products. Not because of the actual supply and demand of the products, but because they just wanted to raise the price of their products and were able to raise the market share and push the price up.
But that was back in the 90s. Well, see, back in the 90s, the internet wasn't as relevant. So you could do things like that. And yeah, somebody would catch it, maybe, but it would take years for somebody to actually catch it. Maybe decades.
And that is true, but actually that right there, what they did in the 90s was technically legal. There were really big loopholes in the legal systems of host countries, including Germany. So due to the loopholes that they had in their economy, they were able to do that technically legally.
I think the internet changed a lot of that. The internet made the world smaller. The internet made access to information a lot easier for anybody. Me and you, like this information here, we wouldn't have had this 20, 30 years ago.
Oh, no.
We
No,
would have
no,
found
no.
it, 40 years down the road, we would have found this information. We would have been given it to us. So I think that the internet did make things, it made it easier to get information. It made it easier to spread the information, good or bad. So but yeah, I mean, they were doing it in the 90s. That's what's recorded. Who's to say they weren't doing it earlier than that?
No, they were doing it earlier, but that's when they really made a big push for it.
Well, that's when technology was making a big push.
Yeah. So some former Siemens employees were actually interviewed about this, and so I guess back then the employees used a common tax term, and they give the German version of it, and I'm not going to say it because I'm going to butcher it. But this tax term is literally translated to useful expenditures, or internally understood as bribes. So when these employees had to calculate the price of a project within the company, they literally understood that this product will be used as a bribe, and I have to push the price up. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So, yeah, this came out, and we found out that they were sending bribes all over the world. We're talking Bangladesh, Vietnam, Russia, Mexico, Greece, Norway, Iraq, Nigeria. They paid bribes to government officials all over the world so that they can hike up the price of their products all over the world, not just Germany.
Wow.
Yes.
So they were creating their own market.
They were creating their own market and setting the price for what they wanted their price to be. And all the Siemens employees, they knew that that was illegal. Like, they knew, but it's like, if you're getting paid well at your job and you need to support a family and pay your bills and nothing bad has happened yet, how desperate are you for that job and to protect your family? So
Wow.
that's why it wasn't reported for so long. All these employees, they thought they were working for a great company. They wanted the money. They liked what they did. But at the end of the day, it's like, this isn't right.
Is there anything in that information you have that estimates how much profit they made off of that? Is there anything that says like how much they think they made off of that? It's hard to say, obviously.
It's hard to say. I actually don't have that information.
You set the market value.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear how much projected profits they made off of that.
Well, I can give you kind of you can kind of guesstimate, because after this was found out and they were investigated, Siemens was prosecuted by the U.S. and by Germany, and they paid more than $1.6 billion in fines and penalties, and 800 million of that went to the U.S. But
Okay.
1.6 in fines.
Okay,
billion.
so $1.6 billion. I'm going to guess easily 200-300 billion is what they made, because you got to think about it. I mean, a fine's a slap on the wrist. A fine is 1-2% maybe, if that.
Yeah.
So if they paid $1 billion, yeah, they probably made 100 billion, 200 billion. It was worth it to them, if not more. And that's what's documented. Again, that's what got. If they paid that fine, it's based on what they got caught with. So there's always something that didn't get. There was some stuff that was hidden farther, swept farther under the rug than other things, And sometimes, but see, going to the corruption thing, sometimes that even happens when you're dealing with corruption. You're dealing with cases like this. Sometimes that even comes out where they have these plea bargain deals where they go, "Hey, we know that there was way more going on, but to save face, we just want this to say that we did it, and we prosecuted and we got a fine, but frankly we don't, frankly Siemens, we don't want to dig deeper because we don't want to waste any more time or effort or resources. Let's just call it a day." How's that sound? Okay, that happens all the time. That truly does happen. I mean, when they prosecute these things, they don't go that far down the rabbit hole. They go down far enough to where it's a PR stink, and they know heads have to roll. They know somebody has to pay the piper, somebody has to own it. But do they really dig that far into it and say, no, it really is like this much? You committed this many crimes. You committed 100 crimes, but in reality you probably committed 200 crimes, but we don't want to waste the time and the effort to do it.
Especially when you can get a conviction based on those first 100 crimes that you look into. You get the conviction you want and the sentence that you want. So after that, it's more of a in my spare time. If the victim's friends and families want closure, yeah, we'll look into it. But the guy's in jail forever, so at least you have that. That's some closure.
So I think that the corruption still goes into the legal system in that regards.
Yeah.
Because it's still a business. And
at the end of the day, these people are rich, so they're gonna, I mean, how often do super rich people like that go to jail forever?
At the end of the day, they are wealthier than the legal system that is fighting them.
Yes.
They are their own legal system. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you'll win to an extent, but you're not, like, really winning. I mean, in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. It's like you win the battle. You win the battle, you don't win the war because corruption keeps going on. If you were winning the war against corruption, we wouldn't be having a national anti-corruption day. International. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we were stopping corruption, if we really were putting a dent in that, we wouldn't have an international anti-corruption day.
Yeah.
How long has this been going on? How long has this international anti-corruption day been going on?
I actually don't know how long it's been a holiday, but I mean,
it's the holiday.
It's a holiday, not a recognized federal holiday, obviously in the United States, but it's the day of Anti-Corruption Day, and it's December 9th.
So do you send like a card? Like, does Bernie Madoff get a card in the mail from them? It's like, hey, happy Anti-Corruption Day, we got you. Do they do that? I would do. If I was them, I would do that.
Really?
I would send it to all these people that they've nabbed over the years. Mm-hmm. All these big antitrust cases, and be like, hey, happy Anti-Corruption Day.
Like I mentioned earlier, all these countries still do it because their government isn't saying that corruption is bad. The U.S. is one of the only countries that actually sanctions corporations sufficiently enough to stop corruption from happening and actually punish people for it. Other countries don't do that. So if they get caught, they say, we're not going to send you to jail. Nothing's going to happen to you. Just stop what you're doing. Slap on the wrist. Anyway, okay.
There you go. Yeah.
We're going to move on to our last example. I know that last one was a doozy. This one's really also kind of a doozy. And I didn't know this happened. And I wish I know it happened because it's a kind of a big deal. But I guess I was a kid. I didn't know. I had the internet, but I never looked this up. So this corruption scandal involves BAE Systems, BAE.
Like your girlfriend?
Like
your bae?
Before all us know BAE Systems.
Okay, this is before that.
It's a defense company, one of the biggest in the world. So a lot of controversy came up with BAE Systems back in 2006. I love how all these came out in like the mid 2000s, right when the internet was getting really popular. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. So BAE Systems was accused of using corruption to sell arms and weapons to various countries across the world, including Chile, Qatar, Tanzania, South Africa, Romania, Saudi Arabia, and the Czech Republic.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're a defense company. They sell weapons.
Yeah.
So they sold them to all these countries. But the reason it was such a big deal is that they investigated them because these were all sold on bribes.
Oh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Okay.
Which the BAE company absolutely refused at the time. So they were found guilty or whatever, and they ended up paying, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but they ended up paying $400 million to the U.S. and 30 million pounds to the U.K.'s because of what happened with them. So this ties in, and maybe you've heard of this, but this ties into something called the Al Yamama. So it was a series of record arms sales by the United Kingdom to Saudi Arabia. So basically they paid for the delivery of up to 600,000 barrels of crude oil per day to the British government.
A day?
A day. So it turns out the first bribe sale that ever occurred with them was back in September of 1985.
Whoa.
Yeah, and the most recent contract was in August 2006 for 72 Eurofighter Typhoon multi-role fighters, which I think is a plane. I think.
It sounds like a plane.
But yeah. So from 1985 to 2006, so that's what, 30 years of bribery and corruption and
31
selling weapons to all these different countries kind of under the table illegally for 30 years.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it says here that the CEO of Bade Systems at the time, his name was Mike Turner. Him and then his predecessor, so like the CEO before him, had earned $43 billion euro dollars in 20 years from the contracts that they had selling these weapons to all these countries.
Hold on. So they had been doing it long enough to where you had multiple like generations of CEOs. And it was 43 billion euros. Isn't a euro worth like? Isn't it like $1.50 for a euro or something?
I'm not sure. Can we look that up?
I'm gonna look that up real quick. I mean, obviously back then it'd be a little different, but let's see here. Okay, euro value to dollar.
But at the time, that was Britain's largest ever export agreement.
Yeah,
And that agreement with Saudi Arabia actually employed 5,000 people over in Saudi Arabia.
okay, so $1.13 equals 1 euro. So let's see if I can do. Let's see if it lets me put enough zeros in here. That's 40,000. That's 40 million. I think that's 40 billion. $45 billion.
That's about right.
Over 20 years? 30 years?
30 years.
Dude.
Yeah.
And that's over two. Like you were around long enough to have two CEOs, at least. Wow.
Yeah. So in 2010, because they were getting indicted, investigated, they couldn't hide what they had done anymore. So in 2010, Base Systems actually ended up pleading guilty to the United States court to charges of false accounting and making misleading statements in connections with the sales. So they basically kind of were like, we do business with Saudi Arabia and Chile and Tanzania, but we don't, sell them weapons. We just do business. We're not selling them illegal weapons. It's just business. That's like what they did.
So hold on. Let's go back to the CEO thing. A CEO usually makes a percentage of profit, not the gross. They usually make a percentage of the net. Your actual, like, at the end of the day, this is your pure profit. $45 billion.
Yeah.
So if they made 10% of that, that means the company made $450 billion. Which it's probably more than that. It's probably more than $450 billion. And that's net. That's not even gross.
Yeah.
Well, they don't worry about gross because there's no taxes that they take out. It's just net. But yeah, I'm still bewildered by that. That's how much money the company made.
Yeah.
The company made hundreds of billion, $400 or $500 billion easy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess if I had that much money, would I be corrupt? Probably.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that much money is such a powerful drug that it's going to permanently change the way your brain thinks and works. And I think your morals are all going to get confumbled. And yeah, up is down, left is right, good is bad.
Well, I think what it comes down to with that, and this doesn't happen to everybody. I'm not going to throw everybody in this equation. But if you think about like professional athletes, like some guys make their millions and they're really responsible with their money and they buy their mom a house and they invest and all that. And then other guys, like, they get DWIs and they overdose and they got hookers and cocaine and all this stuff. And it's the same path. Both people started off the same way, but one got that money and it's like, what can I do to better myself? And the other guy's like, I can do anything I want to because nobody's going to tell me no. You know? And then they have corruption because they'll do stuff and it gets covered up and it gets hidden under the rug, and you know. So that's just on a small level. So, and that's millions. That's guys in the NBA and the NFL making 10 million a year, whatever. But now you're getting into the billions. Yeah, and those guys are like, whatever, I can do whatever I want.
I can't even imagine, like, I can't comprehend that kind of money, like, with my name on it, like in my bank account, like owning that much. Like I cannot, what do you buy? It's like I can literally buy the planet if I wanted. Maybe not the people living on it, but maybe I could buy the planet. So it's because you could easily afford your own island, multiple islands. You could buy thousands of cars. You could buy jewelry, stocks, anything you wanted. And it's like, what do you do then if you bought everything? What else is left to buy? Like, what do you do then with your life? Like, when is enough enough?
Well, some people want to buy power. That's where the bribery comes into place. They're like, I can't buy any more money. They go, I can't get any more stuff, but I can get power over people. I can empower myself over this third world country. I can go to this country and I can murder somebody in broad daylight. Nobody's going to say anything to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a whole different kind of, I assume, based on some things I've read, I assume that money like that is like a whole different kind of high. It's like I've had every drug in the world. I've had women, I've had men, I've had whatever, all that. I've had everything, gold and jewelry and all that. It's like, I want power. I want to be able to do something to anybody I want to and nothing happen to me.
So they're trying to play God.
Yes.
To an extent.
They're just trying to push the envelope because it's like, I've had enough cocaine to kill a small, donkey, and that's not doing anything for me anymore. Now what can I get high off of? I'll get high off of power. I mean, greed is horrible. Greed causes a lot of stuff. I mean, greed does really bad things. A lot of this world is corrupt because of greed. Mm-hmm. So that's something to think about. Is that, I mean, I would say greed kills more people than anything else. Because greed is, at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that goes on in this world is stemmed from greed. Mm-hmm.
Pharmaceutical companies raising the price of their prescriptions that people can't afford because they're greedy and want money, but then people can't afford their insulin.
I mean, greed right now affects everything. Right now, the price of fuel is high. The price of food is high. The job, some jobs are just really crappy. Think about the minimum wage. The minimum wage in America is like $7.25, and it's been that way for a decade at least. Who the hell lives off of $7.25 an hour?
Nobody. You can't.
I want to say it's been $7.25 for a while.
I think
some states have upped it, but on a federal level, it's $7.25.
The last time Texas raised its minimum wage was in 2009.
Okay, so you're trying to tell me that in the last 11 years, 12 years, almost 13 years. So that gallon of gas right now, I think I paid $2.89 a gallon. 12 years ago, a gallon of gas cost what? $1 less, maybe? $1.50 less? Mm-hmm. And you're trying to tell me that there's no inflation and that I shouldn't get paid more because the cost of living has gone up?
Yeah.
That's greed. Mm-hmm. That's greed. So, like if you go work at McDonald's, because McDonald's pays you $7.25, and I'm not saying, I'm just using them as an example. I'm not saying they do that. But let's say McDonald's pays you $7.25 an hour. Well, McDonald's hasn't kept their prices the same over the last 11, 12 years. McDonald's has gone up, but the pay is the same. So the profit margin has gotten higher.
Do they still have a dollar menu?
It's a value menu now.
It's not a dollar menu anymore?
The dollar store isn't even $1 anymore.
Oh yeah, it's $1.25.
Like, that's another good example. So you're trying to tell me that it's okay for you to raise your prices because the cost of stuff is going up, but it's not okay to pay me more because the cost of stuff has gone up? Mm-hmm. Like, that's corruption. That doesn't make any sense.
It's inflation and corruption.
It is inflation.
Together.
It is inflation, but to tell an individual, I can't give you a cost of living raise because our cost of living to produce our business has gone up. It's like, well, yeah, but my cost of living to come to work every day has gone up. So
and that's a lot to blame on your employer, because as an employer, if your job as an employer is what? To keep the business open, to keep the business running, to keep the business from closing down, to be successful. So you want your business to be successful. So if the economy is changing, your business needs to change with it so that you can make the profit margins that you want, so that this inflation doesn't affect your company as bad as it could. And that way you can still give those employees cost of living wages and still make profit with the economy. And I think because the inflation has gone up so much in like what the past 6 months, 12 months, this past year, it's gone up like 6%. I just don't think companies can keep up with what they have to do in their operating procedures to keep up with that inflation so that they can still be profitable and successful and give those employees those raises or benefits or a bonus or whatever. Like, it's just happening so fast.
So, okay, let's just something I pulled up really quick. So there's 30, right at 37,000 Apple employees. 37,000 employees. Their net income in 2020 was $57 billion. They made $57 billion and there's 37,000 employees.
Pre or post tax?
Well, net. So net is after taxes.
Okay.
Or claim taxes, whatever. Again, you're trying to tell me that instead of paying that kid at Apple 10, 12 bucks an hour, you can't pay him 13, 14 bucks an hour? Like, you can't do that because now you're going to make maybe a couple of billion less. It's not like Apple has 57 billion employees. So it's like, oh, we're losing money here. It's like you have 37,000 employees. You made $57 billion. Yeah, you might lose a couple of $1 billion, but you're probably going to keep those employees happy. You're probably going to get more consumers that come to you because, like, hey, they take care of their company. You know, you're probably you're probably bringing more good back into your business than you are sending out bad in the regards of more paychecks. That's just things to consider. It's like mom and pop companies, which I'm considered a mom and pop company. Every dollar that I spend, like, has to be like, I need to know where that money's going. I need to know what it's doing for me and what it's producing and how it's helping me as a business. But once you start getting into that, you know, those big conglomerates, your Walmart and Costco and Amazon, Apple, there's so much money there that's just there. There's so much money. And again, like when CEOs are making, you know, 20, 30 billion dollars, you know, $100 million, do you need to make $100 million? Can you give $1 million back?
I mean, I make 100 million now, but I have to make 102 million because that 2 million makes such a difference. You know. So,
Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, made $265 million last year. That's just last year. So Tim Cook can't just say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to take 260 or 250. You know what? 200's good. Mm-hmm. You can't just say that. Like, there's that much.
Well, you have to understand too that it says he's worth 260 million.
No, that's what he was paid last year. That's not his net worth. That's what he was paid. Tim Cook was paid $265 million in 2020. That's not his net worth.
So that's not including any of his stocks or investments or anything like that. Because I know, like, what was it?
It says
Jeff Bezos, Amazon CEO. He has like, he's worth however billions of dollars, but he only owns like this much of the company.
So his salary or his pay was based on comprising of stock awards and a bonus. He's the 8th highest paid executive in the United States. But again, yeah, it's based on stocks and all that, but you could easily say, you know what? I don't want that. I want to give some of that back. I don't want all that. I don't want 200. I don't want 1 million shares. Give me 99,999. 999,999 shares. Something like, I don't know. It's just,
and, you know, it is possible because who is that? There was a CEO of some small company, I think out in California, who took like a $700,000 pay cut so that he could have all his employees make, like, I think the lowest salary was like $17 an hour. So his lowest paid employee makes $17 an hour and everyone else makes that or more because he took a pay cut himself. And he has been interviewed several times and has come out to say, you know, we've had better, you know, employee retention. We're more productive. The mental health of my employees is better. You know, I've been getting applications, people wanting to work for us, to partner with us and work with us and do advertising and marketing, all because I did this. I'm like, okay, so you take a $700,000 pay cut now, but you're easily going to get that back here in the next few years.
Right.
And then some.
And I mean, and that works whether it's in small business or in, these large global conglomerates. You can take a calculated risk and say, you know what, I'm gonna take some out of my pocket or not put as much in my pocket this year so that I can give it back, because I hope that helps, one, that helps my employees, but two, hopefully it's a good PR move and it helps us. And usually it does. I don't think I've ever heard of that backfiring on anybody.
I wonder if the CEO of Better.com could have done that. Did you hear about that story?
Who's Better.com? No, I don't know.
So Better.com, I think, is some type of like mortgage company. I'll pull it up. But anyway, I saw it on TikTok. So the CEO had a company-wide Zoom call meeting. Well, not everyone in the company, but 15% of the company was on a Zoom call with him. And basically he got on this call and said, because of the state of the economy and inflation and COVID, we have to lay off some staff. So everyone that's on this video call has been terminated effective immediately. Like, he's like, as soon as the Zoom call is over, you are terminated. And all their computers were shut off remotely. Like, they didn't have access to any of their stuff on their computers,
Jesus.
their accounts. They only got one more paycheck and then they were done. On a Zoom call. Can you believe it? And I really wish someone had asked him on the Zoom call or like typed it in the chat. Like, so do you have to take a pay cut because of COVID and the state of the economy, or no? Did your pay stay the same? Because I have a feeling it did. I feel like it stayed the same.
Okay, I don't know if you've heard of this guy. Have you ever heard of Mattress Mac?
No.
In Houston?
No.
His real name is Jim McInville. Mattress Mac is the name that's kind of what he's known as. He owns a place called Gallery Furniture down in Houston.
Okay.
The cool thing, he's 70 years old. This guy, he's a big Houston Astros fan. Oh, he's a Houston everything. I mean, he's a Houston guy. So like, he'll place weird bets, like on the Astros winning the World Series or whatever. Like, he'll do these things where it's like, oh, if you buy all this stuff now, and if it snows on Christmas Day, I'll pay for your stuff. Like, I'll give you your money back, whatever. He does weird stuff like that. But then also when like hurricanes have hit and there's big storms, he's opened up his stores to people. He's given a lot back to the city of Houston and that South Texas area. But that guy, like, he'll place these weird bets on the Astros winning the World Series and all that. And he's lost a lot of money, but he's made a lot of money. And people know him as Mattress Mac. And he's been on SportsCenter dozens of times because he places these weird bets. But then he also does like these, if the Astros win the World Series, you buy a $5,000 furniture set. If the Astros win the World Series, or if the Astros don't win the World Series, I'll pay for your stuff, whatever. He's taking calculated risks, but at the same time, he's also sometimes just giving stuff back to the community. He opens his doors when there's a hurricane and all that. And that's how you stay successful, in my opinion, is that not just by how much you're making, but also how much you're giving. And you don't have to give away the farm. But I think in general, you do have to give away. You do have to give something back. It can't always be take. It's not going to work. Take doesn't work. Long term, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It makes you your money in the short term. But to survive in business, 30, 40, 50 years, you got to be willing to give something back. I think it's what it comes down to with this anti-corruption stuff is that you can't always be taken. And then when you're taken from these like third world countries that don't have crap to begin with, they already have nothing, and you want to take more away from them. How bad of a piece of crap are you when you're taking away stuff from people that don't have anything to begin with? Think about that. All these countries that are getting hit, they're most of them are third world countries, or they're countries where like 90% of the money is with the 10% of the people. I think the moral of the story is we be better to one another. Yeah. Happy International Anti-Corruption Day.
Happy International Anti-Corruption Day,
I think that's
everybody. You need to educate yourself. Seriously, Google this. Read some of the articles and the corruption scandals that have happened in the past. And just know that even though it sucks and it's out there, there's still good people out there. And I don't want this story to be a bummer and ruin your evening. there are much happier holidays this month. So
Then
I mean, we got Christmas, Christmas Eve.
Then Happy International Anti-Corruption Day.
Yeah, I think it's like next week. I think I just had to Google it. There's like National Eating Pizza Day, and there's some fun stuff coming up.
Why can't we do an episode on that?
We could. I'm not saying we couldn't.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, but I don't think they want to see us stuff our faces with pizza.
They've seen me stuff my face a couple of times. Maybe not with pizza, but whatever. So, I think that's going to wrap us up.
Yeah, I guess so.
That was very informative. Like, let me see this little pamphlet here. This little, like, this book report.
I cited my sources. I highlighted.
Like, do we have like an English teacher from high school to give shout out to? Because she taught you how to do your research papers very well. Isn't it like sophomore year when you learned about your research papers?
AMA and MLA format.
Yeah, like
which I hated. I mean, I didn't do actual MLA format, but I did list the article. I linked
dude,
there.
Like we should thank your high school teachers. Like, man, where did you go to school at?
Sachse High School.
Sachse High School. Look at this. Look at this, man. This thing is like thick.
My friend's an English teacher. I hope he's proud.
You know, we need to thank the education system. Her dollars are hard at work. So that's gonna wrap us up.
Yep.
Let's thank the sponsors, Young Ideas Dish.
Yes.
For all your Dish network needs. Mm-hmm. Wave Space Audio for the music.
Love it. So great.
Popcornology for the place to do this show. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have Santa Claus here tomorrow. Santa Claus will be here at Popcornology. Santa. Yeah, he's gonna be here from 4 to 7, taking your requests, your orders for what you want for Christmas and what you don't want. We'll have some snacks, some goodies, free pictures. So if you're in the Terrell, Texas area, which you might be, come by. 309th Street, Terrell, Texas, Popcornology.
The weather should be nice too.
It's gonna be
a beautiful day.
Santa's gonna strip down, and this Santa is buff, by the way. Santa is like jacked.
Ooh.
So Santa might be like sleeveless Santa and be like, it's too hot.
That Santa's going to appeal to a lot of people, not just, the kids getting what they want.
Miss Claus going to have to beat somebody off with a stick. So that's going to wrap us up. On behalf of myself and Miss Kate here,
Hey.
We are Law and Disorder, and we will holler at you guys next time.
Peace out.